to, as in welcome to, day 2, day 2 of our series of Lord Chaitanya Katha. Thank you all for coming. I was told by Dwarkadish Prabhu that most of you know this bhajan, this Chaitanya bhajan.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I thought we could chant that because we are doing a Chaitanya Katha. Is there anyone here this evening that wasn't here last night? First time here tonight? Welcome. It's embarrassing. But it's not for me, it's for Vyasadeva, actually. Krishna Chaitanya
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Thank you for such nice accompaniment. Nice mridanga playing and kartal playing. And enthusiastic response. I didn't want to stop. But we have other kirtan now. So we're here for the continuation of our Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita or Sri Chaitanya Katha. And it's a nice turnout. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a weekday.
For a weekday. Topic of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're not talking about the Rasa Leela, you know. although Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are actually non-different than Rasa Leela. So we'll say the invocation. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya.
Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Now a real hard one. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just going to chant some invocation prayers to my spiritual master and the parampara. Please feel free to chant along. I know most of you know these prayers are standard prayers. I usually say the English translation also, because when I'm chanting the Bengali or the Sanskrit, I'm not capable of actually translating into the language that I'm familiar with. So I try to do it at the end, so I know what the heck I'm chanting. Om Jnana Timanandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My eyes are opened by the torchlight of knowledge. Through the medium of my merciful spiritual master, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitan Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadadi Sva Padantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami, who was established within this material world, the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saha Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master and unto all Vaishnava Gurus. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Rupa Goswami, unto his older brother Sanatan, unto the other Goswamis such as Raghunath Das Goswami and Sri Jiva Goswami. I offer my obeisances unto Advaita Acharya, the Avaduta Nityananda, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I offer obeisances unto Radha Krishna, all the Gopas and Gopis, headed by Lalita and Vishaka. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya, Bhutale, Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Iti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharane, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatcha Deshatarane, offer my obeisances unto A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet in this world. Obeisances unto you, O servant of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. You are spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout the Western worlds, which is full of voidism and impersonalism. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, especially those who are here present physically, and unto those who are present in sound. You're just like the desire trees. You can fulfill the desires of everyone, and you're full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what time should we go till this evening?
8.
It's a weeknight, so maybe
8 is okay.
8 is okay? Is that all right with everybody? Yeah. I guess you'll know after we start speaking if it's all right or not. It might be a very long, boring lecture. Anyway, let's see what Lord Chaitanya has to say about it. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, give a little bit background. This is a great scripture. It was compiled by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And when one compiles spiritual Vedic subject matter, one should not feel qualified to do so. There's actually a process. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives a perfect example. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was the senior-most Vaishnava at the time of his writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when he was actually very elderly, very, very elderly. And the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was no documentation of Lord Chaitanya's latter pastimes. There was a Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, which covered Lord Chaitanya's early childhood and his middle life, but there was nothing about his latter pastimes. And there was also the Chaitanya Mangala by Lochan Das Thakur. Actually, a little side note, initially, Vrindavan Das Thakur, the Chaitanya Bhagavat, he called that the Chaitanya Mangala. But then he discovered that actually Lochan Das Thakur wrote a book about Lord Chaitanya called the Chaitanya Mangala. So then he changed his to the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's said that Vrindavan Das Thakur is actually the incarnation of Vyasadeva. Anyway, so there was no subject on the latter pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all the Vaishnavas, seeing that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was the most qualified, despite the fact that he himself didn't consider himself such, they approached him with great humility and requested him to compile the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the latter pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Has anybody read the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita? The pastimes of Srila Prabhupada? Isn't that an amazing book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. That is transcendental literature. That is transcendental literature. And in the same way, Satsru Maharaj was the author. There was actually a team of devotees, but Satsru Maharaj was the author. I met with Baladev Vijayabhushan. He was one of the devotees who helped compile the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. I met him, we were traveling, we met him in airport in Bangkok, I think. We were going one way, he was going the other. And it's so nice when you run into a devotee in the middle of nowhere. Wow, there's a devotee, Hare Krishna. What's your name? I'm Baladev Vijayabhushan. Oh, I know you. Well, it's been, 15 years since we last saw each other. You got a different body. I got a different body. No wonder we don't recognize each other. Anyway, and he was explaining how, the teams of devotees, they went out, they were interviewing people. They went to the places where Prabhupada had his pastimes, especially the first not planting the seed, the first one, a lifetime in preparation. Prabhupada's life from his appearance until he left for America. I mean, where did they get the information for that, And he was describing how they were looking for the printing place where they printed Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. And the devotees were looking, and they think this is the place. They went upstairs, they spoke to the guy. He says, yes, I remember that Swami, the elderly Swami. He printed his book. The room is a little different. The printing press was over here, and it was over there. And this was here, that was there. And then he said, oh, and by the way, come over here. He opened up a closet, and there was stacks of the dust jacket for the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, thus confirming that this was the place. Anyway, the devotees would collect different bits and pieces, and they're wondering, how the heck is this going to come together? And then Sasru Maharaj would take all the information, and he was empowered to write it in a perfect, and devotees were absolutely amazed. They get together in the evening and hear him read what he put together, and they're absolutely amazed. To hear topics about the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, about his incarnations, such as just the other day we were speaking about Lord Nrsimhadev on his appearance day, a little bit yesterday also, or to speak about his devotees, such as Srila Prabhupada, or in this case, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. This is all transcendental literature. The pure devotee of the Lord and the Lord are basically one and the same. So it behooves us to treat the devotees nicely, like we would treat the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, there's three categories of devotees. There's the Kanishta Adhikari. He's like the neophyte devotee. He comes in the temple, he sees the deity, and he only sees the deity. The next level is intermediate. He's the Madhyama Adhikari. Generally, the Madhyama Adhikari, he likes to give Krishna consciousness to others in different ways, prasadam or speaking or whatever. And he has a tendency to see actually the devotees are very, very dear to Krishna. In fact, the devotees of Krishna are more dear to Krishna than Krishna himself. So if the devotees are more dear to Krishna than Krishna himself, then it's in our best interest to also express appreciation for the devotees, even the most neophyte devotees. What to speak of the more advanced devotees. And then, of course, there's the Uttama Adhikari. Uttama Adhikari is completely, he sees everybody on the transcendental platform. He sees everybody engaged in Krishna's service. But even the Uttama Adhikari, to taste the nectar of preaching the glories of Krishna, he comes down to the Madhyama Adhikari platform. And one example of that, of course, is our A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He was an Uttama Adhikari. If you actually see the characteristics of a Uttama Adhikari, but he comes down to preach the glories of the Lord. So, before Krishna Das Kaviraj, before he wrote, the devotees came and requested, and then he went to the temple of Radha Madana Mohan in Vrindavan, and he prayed to the deity. My dear Lord, I've been asked, I don't feel qualified. With your permission and your blessing, perhaps we can make an attempt. And after he was praying like that, then one garland came from the deity, fell off the deity. Sometimes, you go in front of the deity and you'll see some movement. A piece of jewelry will fall, or maybe Krishna will wink at you, if you're really lucky, or a little smile, a little smirk. Like, are you kidding? You're asking for that? I don't think so. Anyway, so when that happened, the Pujari just, picked up the garland and he looked around and, oh, there's some older sadhu and put it on. So he took that as a confirmation. And then he went to the banks of Radhakund. Now Radhakund is considered to be the most spiritually elevated place in the entire universe. You know, all the different faiths have their places of importance. Like the Christians, they have Bethlehem, where Lord Jesus Christ appeared. And the Muslims, they have Mecca, they pray to Mecca. And Vaishnavas, we have many places actually. You know, we have Dwarka, we have Mathura, Vrindavan, Mayapur. But the topmost place is actually Radhakund, the transcendental lake pond of Radharani's. It's said in the Ishopanishad that the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, better than Vaikuntha is Mathura. Vaikuntha is a spiritual world, but better than Vaikuntha is Mathura. Anyone from Mathura here? Yeah, it's better than even Vaikuntha, Mathura. Why? Why would Mathura be better than Vaikuntha? Because Krishna appeared there. But better than Mathura is Vrindavan. Anybody from Vrindavan? Because Krishna had his pastimes, his childhood pastimes there. And better than Vrindavan is Govardhan, because Krishna lifted Govardhan, protected all the residents of Vrindavan. And the best place is Sri Radhakund, the lake of Radharani. So on the banks of Radhakund, most transcendental place. Anyone from Radhakund? Anybody visit Radhakund? Anybody take a bath in Radhakund? Yeah, Jai. Radhakund Ki. So, so on the banks of the Radhakund, Krishnadas Kaviraj built a little bhajan kutir, a little place to perform his bhajan, and there he compiled the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he expresses, he says, I don't even know how I'm writing this. I'm so old, I can barely see, and my hand is shaking. I don't even know how I'm writing. In other words, Krishna was writing it. And part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he does a synopsis of some of the pastimes. He'll come and it'll like be a whole list of the pastimes. And he says, I'm writing this in synopsis, and like a, a synopsis is like all the pastimes, but in a very abbreviated format, not too much detail. And the reason he was doing that, he said, was because I'm very elderly and I'm not sure I'll have time to finish. Does this remind anybody of anybody? Does it remind any of you of anybody? Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. He was translating the Srimad Bhagavatam. That was his life's mission. And he was about at canto 5, 6, and he basically stopped his translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he gave a synopsis of the 10th canto of Krishna's pastimes in the form of Krishna book. So it's like all the pastimes of Krishna book, of the 10th canto, Krishna's pastimes in the Krishna book. And he says specifically, because he's very elderly, he may not live to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam, and at least he wants to give the essence, which is Krishna. We have 9 cantos leading up to the 10th canto. The 9 cantos are, philosophical foundations, so that when we come to the 10th canto, we won't misconstrue or misunderstand who Krishna is. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's a very important point. And sure enough, he, before he finished the 10th canto, he did depart. But he gave us the 10th canto in the form of Krishna book. And of course, later, his disciples, qualified disciples, they completed the Srimad Bhagavatam on his behalf. It's sometimes the tendency of people to want to go and hear about the pastimes of Krishna in the 10th canto, Radha and Krishna and the gopis. And, they have these Bhagavat saptas, the 7-day Bhagavatam recitings, and they have some very famous reciter of the Bhagavatam, and he attracts a lot of people, and he goes straight to the 10th canto. Often this is what happens. But the 10th canto and these pastimes are not meant to be like a public display. They're meant for discussion of the Vaishnavas. There's 9 cantos preceding, and every part of the Srimad Bhagavatam is as equally sweet. Krishna's pastimes with the gopis or Krishna's pastimes on the battlefield, one and the same. Krishna's killing the demons and Krishna's dealings with the gopis, one and the same, because it's all Krishna, and it's all sweet. It's like sugar candy. It doesn't matter whether it's this part of you have a candy cane at Christmas, nice minty flavor. Love those. Anybody got any candy canes? Anyway, you taste it at one end and you taste it at the other, or you taste it in the middle. Sometimes they break. It tastes the same. It's all sweet. So it's the same with Krishna's pastimes. And it's the same with Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Krishna Das Kaviraj, some of the Chaitanya Charitamrita he put in codes, but somehow or other, by Krishna's grace, he managed to finish the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, one of our great predecessor acharyas, he's known as the founder, or the founder of Krishna consciousness for the modern age. Anybody know who I'm referring to? Yes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is known as the father of Krishna consciousness for the modern age. And he studied theology. He studied many theologies. He studied the Christian theology and other theologies. And he heard about the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He wanted to acquire a copy of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he started to look for one. And it took him 17 years before he actually got his hands on a copy. He was looking for 17 years to find a copy of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, is available for everyone. When I was just in Edmonton, I was speaking with Krishna Kshetra Prabhu, and I asked him if he had a copy of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, yes, I have the whole set, the whole original set. I said, really? How good? And he said, yeah. He said, I went to one temple, one Hindu temple in Surrey, that's part of Vancouver, and they had a whole box of books that they were just basically giving away from their library. And in the box was a whole set of Chaitanya Charitamritas. Wow, what a find. How unfortunate that they took it out of their library, but what a find. The first Chaitanya Charitamrita, version of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I guess you could say, was when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, again, I know most of the devotees know this, he compiled a synopsis of Lord Chaitanya, his life and precepts, which is basically based on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he compiled a little booklet, and he distributed, he mailed it. He got a printing press. Back then, especially in India, printing presses weren't readily available. They weren't even so readily available in North America, so what to speak of India. But he saw the value of the printing press, and he printed a whole bunch of copies of this little booklet called Lord Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts. And then he mailed them to various institutions of higher education. In other words, universities around the world. Oxford, Cambridge, our own McGill University in Montreal. In fact, when Prabhupada was in Montreal, the devotees found a copy of that in the McGill Library and showed it to him. He was very pleased to see it. And interesting enough, it was almost prophetic, because he did that in the same year that Srila Prabhupada appeared. It was kind of like the first time the mission of Lord Chaitanya went around the world, was when Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent this very concise, abridged edition of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this evening, so anyway, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he compiled the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who was empowered to do so. And if anybody actually reads the subject matter, you'll get so much flavor. In fact, it's said that the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are even sweeter. Is everybody sitting down before I say this? They're actually sweeter than the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Yeah. Because Lord Chaitanya is Namo Mahabhadanaya. He's even more merciful than Lord Krishna. Kamsa. What did Krishna do with Kamsa? He killed him. And of course Kamsa got liberation. But you know that same Kamsa, you know, he came back. No, actually, Kamsa came back as the Chandkazi. Yeah, the Chandkazi. The Chandkazi was the, I guess you could say like the governor, maybe not quite the governor, I'm not sure the Mohammed terms, but he was a Mohammedan. He was in charge of the government. The Qazi, that's a position. And, you know, the devotees, when Lord Chaitanya started the Sankirtan movement, he took the Maha Mantra and chanted it together in Kirtan. That is the thing that Lord Chaitanya did, which was kind of, after he had taken sannyas, he came back to Navadvip and he started the Sankirtan movement. And they started these kirtans, these loud kirtans, chanting the holy name and they were dancing in ecstasy. And then all the residents, they went to the Chandkazi and they said, you know, this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, formerly Nimai, before he took sannyas, he was a nice, you know, nice, mild, pleasant person, but now that he's taken sannyas, he's come back and he's invented this kind of religion. And it's this, you know, this loud chanting, it's so disturbing. Can you tell him to stop? Please tell him to stop. Now, the Muslims went to the Chandkazi, and the Hindus went to the Chandkazi. They were all complaining about this Hare Krishna movement. So the Chandkazi, being a good politician, wanted to favor everyone. He went and he basically went to stop the Sankirtan movement. And he said, you know, if you continue this, he picked up a drum, he broke it, and he said, if you continue this, I'm going to send a tax man, and he'll tax you out of existence, which happened very often during those times. So everybody was very fearful. And then, of course, we know the pastime, Lord Chaitanya. He's called all the devotees together, and he said, you know, get together. We're going to have a big harinam, a big procession of kirtan. So 100,000 devotees got together, and they all went in procession, chanting the holy name at night to the palace of the Chandkazi. The Chandkazi was so fearful. It's like 100,000 people, and he thought, oh my God, it's like a mob, it's a riot. But actually it wasn't. It was a very peaceful non-cooperation movement. The first peaceful non-cooperation movement. The credit goes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not to Mahatma Gandhi, but to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyway, 100,000 people, can you imagine? And they're, you know, you're stopping the kirtan, we're going to get you for this. The only damage they did was they trampled some of the flower beds. If you ever have a festival or something in a city and there's 100,000 people and there's flower beds in that area, guaranteed the flower beds are going to get trampled, and that's what happened. That was the only damage. Anyway, Lord Chaitanya met with the Chandkazi, and the Chandkazi said, you know, he's very fearful, he went hiding, but then Lord Chaitanya had a peaceful talk with them. They had the philosophical discussion based on the Koran. Lord Chaitanya was showing meat eating in the Koran is not proper, and the Chandkazi agreed. And then the Chandkazi said, you know, he was worried. He said, you're like my nephew, I'm like your uncle. We grew up in the same village. Because in that culture, if you live in the same village, the elders can be considered uncle. I know you know that. I just discovered that. We don't consider everybody in the village uncle, but anyway, so, but there's a deeper meaning to that. There's a deeper meaning to Lord Chaitanya calling the Chandkazi uncle. Because in his previous Leela with Krishna, the Chandkazi was Kamsa, and he was killed by Krishna. And in Chaitanya Leela, why Lord Chaitanya is so sweet is because he didn't kill the Chandkazi. He gave him Krishna Prema, the highest liberation possible. That's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's, you know, just a little indication of why his pastimes are so sweet. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita is divided into 3 sections. It's called Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, and Antya Lila. Adi is the early pastimes. Also the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Adi Lila, there's a lot of philosophical building blocks, a lot of Shastric reference to show and that who Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually is. It's not just, you know, pastimes. There's a lot of philosophical structure and foundation in the Adi Lila, just like the 9 cantos leading up to the 10th canto in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then the middle pastimes, Madhya Lila, is basically when Lord Chaitanya is in householder life, up until he takes sannyas, and the last part of his activities is when he takes sannyas. Now, he is the Lord, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and somebody may ask, well, if he's God, then why does he have to take sannyas? Well, actually, he doesn't. Just like, why did he have to take initiation? He took 2 initiations. He took 1 initiation from Ishvarapuri, as we take to come into the disciplic line, and he took a 2nd sannyas initiation from Keshava Bharati. So those are the 2 initiations that he took. Krishna also took initiation. He also had a guru. He had 2 gurus, actually. He had the family priest, who was... no, the priest was... No, that was his actual ashram guru teacher. But his name-giving... Gargamuni. Who said Gargamuni? Jai. Good for you. Yeah, Gargamuni. And when Gargamuni gave Krishna his name, right, there's a reference to Lord Chaitanya in that Krishna Leela. He said, you know, you appeared in whitish color, reddish color, and you'll appear in golden color. And in this life, you're blackish. So therefore, we will call you Krishna. Blackish meaning Krishna Leela. But golden is Lord Chaitanya, who is yet to come in Kali Yuga. So, so that's kind of like the order of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there are many pastimes. So one of the Nimai, Lord Chaitanya, when he's known as Nimai, he was actually a very scholarly, philosophical person. Well, let me just make a reference to that point about God taking a guru. There's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Yashasti Anyway, the English translation is that whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever example he sets, all the world pursues. Tat tat eva tarojana saya. Anyway, excuse my quotes. Krishna is not giving me the intelligence tonight. So, or he's probably giving it, but I'm not accepting it. So there's no more of an important person than God. So he sets the example. So when Lord Chaitanya, as a young boy, he was a great debater. Sometimes you just go around debating people just for the heck of it, and people were getting annoyed because Advaita Acharya, he would go and debate with Advaita Acharya, but debate was never nothing any transcendental, nothing spiritual, just dry rhetoric, which is very boring. You ever meet somebody who just wants to philosophize? They don't want to hear about Krishna, or they don't want to talk about that, so just mental speculation, philosophize. It's like very, very painful. It's not very enjoyable. That's one of the reasons that Lord Chaitanya, he defeated the Mayavad sannyasis in Varanasi, because he had two devotees that were there, Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra, and they were the only Vaishnavas, and Varanasi was the headquarters of the impersonalists, the Mayavad sannyasis, and everybody was an impersonalist. And these two disciples of Lord Chaitanya, all they were hearing all the time was, you know, these impersonal Mayavadi terms, and it was very, very painful. Lord Chaitanya went to visit them, and by the arrangement of Providence, there was one Brahmana, and he arranged for a grand meeting. He wanted Lord Chaitanya to meet all the sannyasis of Prakashananda Saraswati. Prakashananda Saraswati was a great scholar. He's in the Saraswati Sampradaya, and the Mayavad Sampradaya, there are different titles. Saraswati is the top, and then there's Bharati. Lord Chaitanya was in the Bharati, so considered lesser. And so Lord Chaitanya went to the place where all these sannyasis were. This Brahmana, Vaishnava Brahmana, he wanted Lord Chaitanya to meet with the other sannyasis. Prakashananda Saraswati said, yes, I know this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's a sentimentalist. You know, he just goes around chanting Hare Krishna and dancing. And he's just a sentimentalist. He should talk Vedanta. So anyway, so at that meeting, Lord Chaitanya, he's sitting at the end of the room. Saraswati is sitting at the far end, sitting on a raised platform. And Lord Chaitanya comes in, and a bright effulgence comes from him. Bright, bright effulgence. And all the Mayavadis sannyasis say, oh, Narayan, please come, sit with me. Lord Chaitanya took the humble role. He said, you're the Saraswati Sampradaya, Bharati, you know, your Sampradaya is greater than mine. And then Saraswati's, you know, Prakashananda said, so why is it, you know, you're such a sentimentalist, you go around chanting Hare Krishna. And the spiritual master, he said, and then Lord Chaitanya said, my spiritual master, he said, I'm a fool. And he gave me two mantras. The first mantra he gave me was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the second mantra he gave me from the Vedas was, anyone? Harinama, 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 Kevalam, Kalo Nastiva, 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 Katiranyata. This is a verse from the Brahmana Upanishad, and I didn't pronounce it right. So, when something is in the Veda, Veda is accepted as truth. In fact, even, you know, when two gentlemen get together and one of them makes a comment about something, the other one will challenge, oh, is that in the Vedas? It's like you're making some, you know, outrageous statement. Is it in the Vedas? Can you support it? Everything should be supported by Vedic reference. So, meaning, everything in the Vedas is important. But this particular verse is said 3 times for emphasis, which means it's very important. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama. Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. That is the process for this age. Anyway, so then Prakashananda Saraswati said, well, we should speak some Vedanta. And so there was some discussion, and Prakashananda made some philosophical points, and then Lord Chaitanya completely smashed them. I don't think we'll get into the details of the philosophical discussion, it's here, but basically he was presenting his impersonal perspective, and Lord Chaitanya was presenting the personal perspective, and as a result, Lord Chaitanya completely defeated Prakashananda Saraswati and all his hundreds of sannyas disciples, and they all became followers of Lord Chaitanya. And the town of Varanasi, formerly known as Kashi, became all personalists, all Vaishnavas. I think I mentioned that there are 4 places of learning governing capitals of the world at the time, and one of them was Varanasi. So Lord Chaitanya went there and defeated the Varanasis. When he was in Navadvip, we were speaking yesterday, I believe, about how he defeated the Keshava Kashmiri. Do we speak about that? Sometimes I get confused whether I spoke here or I spoke somewhere else. So if I do repeat things, please forgive me. And if I ask questions like that, please forgive me. So yeah, and he defeated. He was considered the Pandit. All the Pandits sent Keshava Kashmiri to go and defeat him, and so that indicates he was the champion in Navadvip. And also, he defeated Keshava Kashmiri, who was the champion from Kashmir, which the other place of, considered the top place of, philosophers. So he basically proved to be the supreme philosophy. So the statement of Prapishananda Saraswati saying that you're just a sentimentalist, well, he really had to eat his own words there because Lord Chaitanya defeated him. One time, Lord Chaitanya, now we know who Lord Chaitanya is, right? He went and met an astrologer. An astrologer, he was a palmist and an astrologer. These are actual sciences, astrology and palmistry. The difficulty is finding someone who's actually, expert enough to be accurate. But anybody who's had their palm read by a bona fide palmist, you see there's definitely some merit to that, and then the same with astrology. So Lord Chaitanya, he met this astrologer. Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, was the best astrologer. In fact, he's credited for pointing out, if you want to use the word discovery, that something's already there, the last planet in our solar system. Pluto? Yeah, Pluto. It's actually, he's actually given credit. Bhaktisiddhanta, from the Surya Siddhanta scripture. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya, he meets this astrologer, and he says, my dear astrologer, can you tell me who I was in my last life? So the astrologer, checks the calculation of his appearance day. Kind of looks, he scratches his head, double checks. Let me see your palm. Looks at his palm. According to my calculations, in your last life, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Chaitanya says to the astrologers, my dear astrologer, I know for a fact that in my previous life I was a cowherd boy. Krishna's a cowherd boy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead's a cowherd boy. So, he would go on Sankirtan with the devotees. He regularly go on Sankirtan around Navadvip. And the devotees would get tired and thirsty. So he just happened to have a mango seed in his hand. And he planted the mango seed. And within a few moments, a mango tree started to grow. And in a few more moments, it grew into a full blooming mango tree with huge, ripe, juicy mangoes. I believe you have a mango festival here, don't you?
Yes.
So you probably already know this pastime. I'm sure you all know that pastime because you have the mango festival. Anyway, this mango was very exceptional because it had no skin, which is, that's the downside of mangoes. And it had no seed, which is another downside. Half the mango is a seed. And then, the skin, you have to take the skin off. So anyway, and then the devotees would eat the mangoes. One mango was enough to feed and quench the thirst of even a big man with a good appetite. And every day they would go on Harinam, and they would stop in the mango grove, and they would have a mango. And that mango grove is still there. And when the devotees go on Parikram in Navadvip, around Navadvip, they stop in that mango grove, and they have mangoes if they're in season. But they're not exactly the same tree. These mangoes, unfortunately, now have seeds and skin. The progression of Kali Yuga. Actually, it's said, as Kali Yuga progresses, Vrindavan Dham, the Dham of Lord Krishna gets more and more covered over. Anybody been to Vrindavan lately? Yeah. Anybody been to Vrindavan lately and then been to Vrindavan, let's say 10, 15, 20 years earlier? Yeah. You notice the difference? Yeah, the Krishna Balaram tree's gone. The Parikram path is not the soft dust anymore, it's all paved. Cars are driving on the Parikram path. Before it was just, you know, a footpath with dust. Yeah, so as Kali Yuga, you know, becomes more, Vrindavan gets covered over. But on the plus side, as Kali Yuga progresses, Sridham Mayapur becomes more uncovered. And you can see what's happening in Sridham Mayapur, how it's just, you know, blossoming. So many devotees, prophecies are being fulfilled. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur walked out on his balcony and he looked across the Jalangi, he saw a city of international Vaishnavas from all over the world. This was 150 years ago, when the concept was completely outrageous. He saw one big mandir. When Jiva Goswami, we'll have some more about this tomorrow with our PowerPoint, but Jiva Goswami was being taken around Mayapur, Navadvip, by Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya's right-hand man, who was actually Balaram in Krishna Lila. And, you know, Nityananda's pointing out different places, and then he points out, and here, this is, after Lord Chaitanya leaves, there's going to be a flood for 100 years, and everything will be covered with water, but after 100 years, the flood waters will recede, and then again, the bathing ghats will become manifest, and the places, the different temples will come up, and then he said there'll be one exceedingly wonderful temple, Adbhuta Mandir, from which the holy name will be spread all over the world. Right now in Mayapur, there's one exceedingly wonderful temple that's coming up, from which the Sankirtan movement will spread all over the world. And that's the Vedic Planetarium of TOVP, Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. Prabhupada wanted the Vedic Planetarium. Bhakti Siddhanta wanted the Vedic Planetarium, so it's parampara. After Lord Chaitanya, he took sannyas. The reason he took sannyas was because it was actually a transcendental trick to get people to offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord. And when we offer obeisances when we come to the temple, we offer obeisances. We make a lot of spiritual progress. Knowingly or unknowingly, just like fire, knowingly or unknowingly it will act. So when we offer obeisances, come to the temple, offer obeisances, it will act. So Lord Chaitanya, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's also known as Chana Avatar. He's covered, he's hidden. He's not actually coming in the role of God, like all the incarnations. You know, they kill the demons, or there's something that is, it sets them apart. Lord Chaitanya, he just came and he looked like an ordinary person. And Krishna points out in the Bhagavad Gita also, Avijanti Mamudha, that the fools deride him, not realizing his transcendental and supreme control over all that be. And that was the same especially with Lord Chaitanya, because he wasn't coming as God, he was coming as God's devotee, as we were discussing yesterday. So his own students, Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of ecstasy, feeling separation from Radharani. He was chanting the name of Radha and the gopis, and his students, they criticized him and said, "What are you chanting that for? You should be chanting Hare Krishna." And then Lord Chaitanya realized that, people are not showing respect. Not that he wants to get respect. He doesn't need. We don't need to get respect, but for their benefit, if he took sannyas, then they would be respectful. They would offer obeisances, and just by offering obeisances, they would make progress. So when he took sannyas, the first time he took he took sannyas, and he was walking around the area called Godadesh. That's the area where the Ganges doesn't flow in Bengal. And he was in ecstasy. And he was thinking, I'm going to go to Vrindavan. So for 3 days, he was wandering around in Godadesh in absolute ecstasy, chanting Hare Krishna. And anyway, and then there's a path up ahead, and there's a fork in the path. And one side led to the Ganges, and the other side led to the Jamuna. And he was thinking, I'm going to go to Vrindavan. But Nityananda and a group of devotees were following Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya thought he was alone, but they were actually following from a distance. So Nityananda, he ran up, and there was a big plot to have Lord Chaitanya go somewhere else. So he runs ahead, and he tells the devotees, did I mention this yesterday? No. Okay, good. So there's some cowherd boys playing there, and he said, when you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sannyasi come by, and he asks which path leads to the Jamuna, you tell him this one, the one to the Ganges. But somehow or other, they agreed to do as Nityananda said. Nityananda can be a bit of a, he's an avadhuta, so you better do what he says. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya comes and he's pointed to the path to the Ganges, thinking he's going to the path to the Jamuna to go to Vrindavan. And he gets to the Jamuna, to the Ganga, and he dives in, and he's feeling ecstatic, and all of a sudden, Advaita Acharya shows up in a boat. Not only does he show up in a boat, but he has fresh cloth, dry cloth for Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya didn't have another set of cloths, and Lord Chaitanya is scratching his head and wondering where did he come from, and how come he has a fresh cloth. Anyway, Lord Advaita Acharya invites him into the boat, takes him to his residence at Shantipur. And there he gives Lord Chaitanya, and then Nityananda came, and Nityananda, he gives Lord Chaitanya his first alms as a sannyasi, his first meal after fasting for 3 days. Now, it's described that Advaita Acharya, he took 2 plates, 2 palm leaves. And it's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that these palm leaves came from palm trees that bore bunches of bananas, 24 bunches of bananas. 24 bunches. So you can imagine the size of, if anybody knows anything about the banana trees, even a banana tree that doesn't have bananas, the banana leaves are huge. So what to speak of its 24 bunches? Gives you an idea how big these banana leaves was. And he put 2 in front of Lord Chaitanya and 2 in front of Nityananda. We know devotees in prasadam, right? So then he starts, serving Lord Chaitanya all this prasadam on this, and Nityananda all this prasadam. And Lord Chaitanya says, whoa. First he's thinking this is for Krishna. Oh, very nice, Advaita, you're making such a nice arrangement, to make a nice offering for Krishna. He said, no, this is a prasadam, this is for you. Lord Chaitanya says, what? I'm just a sannyasi, I can't eat this much. And Advaita Acharya says to him, I know for a fact that this is nothing for you, because in Jagannath Puri, you eat 54, 56 times a day, because the same Lord Chaitanya is Lord Jagannath, right? And Advaita Acharya knows that, because Advaita Acharya was the one that summoned Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya kind of had to, he was kind of defeated, so he started to eat. In the meantime, Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, they have a very unusual relationship. Nityananda, he has these 2 huge plates also filled, overflowing with prasadam, and he says to Advaita Acharya, he says, my dear Advaita Acharya, is this all you're giving me? I've been fasting for 3 days, and this is all you're giving me? Because Krishna consciousness, it's relationships, and these relationships are very, very sweet. Just like amongst our friends, we have these loving, joking relationships. Well, they're there in the spiritual world. It's not the spiritual world. The absolute truth is just some dry, merging and voidist, and it's none of that. No, it's full of nectar. It's full of exchanges, loving exchanges. And there's joking exchanges, and there's all the rasas, all the flavors are there. So many flavors. There's no flavor in merging into the absolute. There's no flavor in becoming one with with the with the Lord. The flavor is when you have 2 people, 3 people, unlimited people who are all having loving exchanges. That's real nectar. And this is a little example of Nityananda and Advaita and this exchange of love in a jovial, joking manner, and Lord Chaitanya and Advaita Acharya. So after that, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya, then they plotted how to spread the Sankirtan movement. And there's actually a place that's kept there in Shantipur. There's a room, and it said that's the place they would strategize. In the meantime, at the same place, the devotees knew that Lord Chaitanya was coming there, and Mother Sachi was invited. Mother Sachi is Lord Chaitanya's mother. And Lord Chaitanya's mother, when she heard that her son went and took sannyas, she was very upset because there's a previous history. Lord Chaitanya, first of all, she had seven children that all died at birth. Kind of like Devaki, right? And then she had a son, and the name of the son was Vishvarupa. Lord Chaitanya had an older brother. And in Vishvarupa, he ended up taking sannyas. And Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra, Lord Chaitanya's mother and father, they were very upset that this, So Lord Chaitanya said, not to worry, I'll take care of you. I'll never enter the renounced order. And but then later, Sachi Mata's husband, Jagannath Mishra, passed away, and then Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. So she was invited to Shantipur at the house of Advaita Acharya. Now, Advaita Acharya was the teacher. Are you following this? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Advaita Acharya was the teacher of Vishvarupa, Lord Chaitanya's older brother, and his older brother would go and learn, scripture and Vedic and Krishna consciousness from Advaita Acharya. And Lord Chaitanya at that time was just a little boy, and he would go every day with the tiffin for Vishvarupa for his lunch. Every day we'd take the tiffin, and Advaita Acharya would pat the little boy on the head, a little exchange like that. And then Vishvarupa took sannyas. So when Mother Sachi went to the house went to Shantipur, in Advaita's place, to meet with her son, and when she saw him in sannyas robes, she was so upset. She got very angry with Advaita Acharya. She blamed him for Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas. Why did she? And she was actually very offensive to Advaita Acharya. And then Lord Chaitanya said, well, you're my mother, you're my guru. Any children here? Your mother is your guru. Don't ever forget that. Even Prabhupada says it's the mother that trains the children. I know that's the way it was with me. My father would be at work and my mother would be at home. That was the standard. That was the Canadian standard, by the way. Not like it is now, nobody at home. All the mothers stayed home. I kid you not, all the mothers stayed home. The fathers went to work, and the school was 2 blocks away. You come home for lunch. Your mother's there, you made lunch, and then you come home after school. You play for a little bit in the backyard or in the back lane with your friends. Then it's dinner time. Dad comes home. Everybody sits down at the table, and we all take dinner together. That used to be the Canadian standard. And now, of course, it's a different thing because people have to pay so much just to have a house, a roof over their head. Anyway, so Advaita Acharya was, Mother Sachi offended Advaita Acharya. But then Lord Chaitanya said to his mother, you're my guru, and, you're my mother. If you want, I'll give up sannyas and, go stay with you. But then Mother Sachi said, no, you've taken sannyas. That wouldn't be proper. But if you can stay in a place close by where I can hear, news of your activities, that would make me that would keep me pacified. So then Lord Chaitanya accepted. He said, okay, I'll stay at Jagannath Puri. So for the last 24 years of his life, 6 of them in the sannyas order he traveled, and then the last 12, he stayed in Jagannath Puri. That was his headquarters. That was Then one day, Lord Chaitanya, he was just freely giving benedictions. One devotee came up to him and said, you know, I'm into this Krishna consciousness, but my father, he's so opposed. He's not into it at all. I'm having such a hard time at home. Anybody experience that? I know us Western devotees would, felt that. Now my father is just not into it. I'm trying to practice at home, but it's so uncomfortable. Can you make him into a devotee? Done. Sure enough, the guy goes home and his father's a devotee. And another devotee asks for a benediction, and Lord Chaitanya says, done. Another devotee comes to him, done. He's giving blessings and benedictions left, right, and center. Everybody's, lining up, come to his place. Done. And one devotee comes and said, can you give Mother Sachi a blessing? No, I cannot give Mother Sachi a blessing. What? She's your own mother. You can't give your own mother? She raised you. She nurtured you. You can't give her a blessing? No, I can't give her a blessing. You're giving everybody you don't even know, you're giving them blessings and benedictions. Why can't you give your mother a benediction? I can't give my mother a benediction because she offended a Dvaita Acharya. She offended a Vaishnava. If Mother Sachi goes and asks for forgiveness from a Dvaita Acharya, then I'll give a blessing. So she went and asked for forgiveness for the offense that she committed, accusing him of making his son a sannyas, both her sons sannyasis. And then Lord Chaitanya gave her benediction. We have to be careful about offending devotees. It's such an easy thing to do, we're so familiar with each other, and especially it's like, I'm guilty of it. I have to admit, I'm guilty of it. But that's what kills, that's what chokes. That's what chokes the Bhakti Lada creeper, the creeper of devotional service, is criticizing and fault finding. It's, we were talking about this before. It's the mad elephant offense. You have a nice garden, the seed of bhakti is planted in the heart perhaps by any one of us. We meet somebody, we plant the seed. And then, the seed has to be nurtured. We pour water on it in the form of chanting the holy name. We put a little fence around it. We guard against the offenses of the holy name to guard it, and it grows. And eventually it penetrates the 8 layers of the universe, which are very, very thick. The 8 layers are the 8 material elements, starting with earth, water, fire, air, and ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. That's the shell of the universe. And each layer is 10 times thicker than the previous one. So water is 10 times thicker than and then the next one is 10 times 6. It's impenetrable. But it's penetratable by bhakti, transcendental. That's why the holy name comes down. It actually doesn't come from us. It actually comes down. We become a reciprocal for it, a receptacle for it. And and then it grows and it goes and it comes to Vaikuntha and it holds on to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And once it grabs on, it's fructifying. The fruits have come. But like any other plant, once the tree bears fruit, you don't stop watering it, because if you stop watering it, it won't bear fruit anymore. So in the same way, it's not we become to a certain level of Krishna consciousness, and then we give up the process thinking, okay, I've attained success. No, you have to continue to water. You have to continue, and that watering is basically chanting the holy name, offering your food to the Lord, making it prasadam, the basic principles of devotional service. But at the same time, what happens is that when you're watering the plant, you're also sometimes watering the weeds within the heart. And those weeds come in the form of, they're anarthas. And sometimes you can't discriminate between what's the actual creeper and what's the weed. And what allows the weed to grow is basically our false ego. thinking that we're somebody. It's not like, you go to a Speedy Muffler and they call you a somebody, you're a somebody. We think we're a somebody without going to Speedy Muffler. We tend to think we're somebody great. Srila Prabhupada was having a discussion with Tamal Krishna Maharaj, one of his chief whip sannyas disciples. Whenever Prabhupada had some difficulty in a difficult situation, he would call on Tamal Krishna Maharaj to come and solve it. Anyway, and Tamal Krishna was very, very potent. So one day he's talking to this Tamal Krishna and he says, within the universe, from the breathing of Mahavishnu, there are unlimited universes. It's described like you take a sack of mustard seeds. You take a mustard seed, that's one universe. And within each of those universes, there's unlimited number of planets. You ever look up in the sky when it's dark and out in the country where there's no lights on a clear night? It's like hundreds of thousands of planets. And one of those planets, and there's life on all of those planets, and on one of those planets is called Earth. And on the planet Earth, there's so many countries. And in so many countries, there's so many millions of people. And in one of those countries, there's a city. And the city's called Los Angeles, with so many million of people. And of all those millions of people in Los Angeles, there's one person named Tamal Krishna. And he thinks he's the center of the universe. Isn't it amazing? It's like when you really analyze it, we all think we're the center of the universe. That's the false ego. That's the weed. And it's from the false ego that all these weeds grow. And then if somebody is really brave and really compassionate, and he sees a weed growing in his fellow God brother, he tries to help him pick it. He said, "Oh, there's a weed there. He's got to pull it out." "Who are you going to tell me? I know the difference between a weed and a creeper. I know the good plant and the bad plant." Actually, anybody that gives instruction, like the spiritual master, when he chastises us, Hare Krishna, thank you. Boy, but it's so painful, isn't it? Anybody been chastised by a senior devotee? I remember in the early days, it was like that was the process. Yes. It's like, oh, I've been a devotee for 2 weeks. He's a new devotee, and then you start instructing him. What are you doing? You're nonsense. You're not supposed to eat with your left hand. You're supposed to eat with your right hand. Oh, I'm so ready to know. What are you doing playing the cartels? You don't know how to play the cartels. What are you doing? Good for the false ego. And now it's like, somebody's playing the cartels and you say, "Prabhu, can you hand the part?" "Who are you? Tell me I can play the cartels." We're so proud. We're so proud. And we have nothing to be proud about. Really, we don't. This is Maya, this is illusion. And these are the weeds. And what happens is sometimes we're chanting, "Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare." I lead such a great kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, I know so many shlokas. Hare Krishna, Krishna. The weeds are growing, And sometimes we can't discriminate between one weed and the next. And that's where the expert gardener comes in. The expert gardener is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many fruits he has from the Bhakti Lata Bij. He's trying to give all the fruits away, but how many can he give away? He's the expert gardener. And that's why he came as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to show us how to nurture the Bhakti Lata Bij. It's a great science. It's a great science of agriculture. And he's a great agriculturalist, among other things. That's what the Chaitanya Charitamrita is all about, is how to be a devotee. One instruction after another, after another. And the representative of Lord Chaitanya, the spiritual master, he's the expert gardener. And he will help us pull the weeds. The spiritual master said he has his tongue is like a razor, and he cuts. He's not interested. A bona fide spiritual master is not looking for flattery. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, someone who flatters me, he's actually my enemy, because that flattery just helps my ego grow. But it's a little bit of an anomaly, because as devotees, we want to see the good qualities in everybody. We want to see the good qualities, and it's nice to acknowledge them and to point it out to other devotees. And you know, when we find fault with a devotee, the best way to overcome that, to counteract that, is find a good quality, and then tell the devotee that, you know, this is oh, Prabhu, you're so good at this, you know. You have such a nice, sweet disposition. And in this way, it actually helps counteract the offensive mentality that we develop from being overly friendly. I mean, not overly friendly. You can never be overly friendly, but overly familiar. And so it's actually now 8 o'clock. I'm just getting into third gear here. But it is a weeknight, and I believe there is some prasadam, so I think maybe we'll conclude for this evening. And I believe tomorrow we're going to have a PowerPoint. It's going to be a summary of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. They call it Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and miracles. And we'll go over some of the pastimes and like that. So, is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? Yes.
You mentioned about Bhakti Vinod Thakur's literature to the Western countries.
Yes.
And how early that came to Western countries?
It came about 150 years back. That was about the time of I don't right off the top of my 1896. It was 1896, the year of Prabhupada's appearance. The same year that Prabhupada appeared was the same year he wrote that book and sent it out. So 1896 to 1996 is 100 years. So over 100 years ago. Yeah.
And was there any communication from Western countries to Bhakti Vinod Thakur?
As a matter of fact, there was, yes. I don't recall the details, but I remember reading about that. Some people were interested, as well as some of the British that were in India at the time. The British highly respected Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He was also a magistrate, and those who were a little bit philosophical. It wasn't that all the British that were in India were all bad. The British also had their gentlemen and their philosophers and thoughtful thinkers, and they embraced, made some camaraderie, some friendship with some of our great acharyas like Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta. Yeah. I know I was going to. I said I was going to read some quotes from different Shastra references about Lord Chaitanya. Anyway, I have two different separate pages, and these are quotes. The Matsya Purana. In the age of Kali, I'll just read a few, just to prove that there's a lot of quotes, and there's two like this, and there's 12 pages on each, something like that. I'll just read a few. This is from the Matsya Purana. In the age of Kali, I shall advent. Where the 3 rivers meet, I shall have a shaven head, I shall have a golden complexion, I will be very kind and always chant the holy name of Krishna. Sounds like Lord Chaitanya to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Once again, he's known as Chana, covered or hidden incarnation, because he's not coming as God, he's coming as Krishna's, And Krishna only reveals himself. He reveals himself to the devotees. And as he says in Bhagavad Gita, Yeyamam prapajante tam thank you, bhajamyaham. As you surrender, as you come to surrender, then I reveal myself accordingly. So when we take up the process, initially we may have a lot of doubts, about Lord Chaitanya. I know I certainly did. I had a lot of doubts about Krishna consciousness in general. It was like, it was just too esoteric. But by taking through the process, gradually, Krishna reveals himself through, you open Bhagavad Gita, here it is, the answer you're looking for, and it's so clear. It's clear as, and similarly, you have doubts about you know, how can a man like Lord Chaitanya be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But then all of a sudden you start getting, Krishna reveals himself as you take to the process, as you surrender. And more individually and collectively, as this movement is growing, just as, you know, Navadvip becomes more and more unmanifest, more and more manifest, in the same way, Krishna consciousness in general is becoming more and more manifest for the world at large. Prabhupada came with one Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, in 3 volumes. First canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And now, I mean, so much information is coming out, you can't keep up. I mean, a new book is coming out every day about Krishna consciousness and references to this scripture and that scripture. And it's just, you know, it's mind-boggling. So in the same way, you know, more and more information about is being uncovered by the hidden incarnation of Lord Chaitanya through different quotes from different scriptures. In the Vayu Purana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead states, I'm not reading the Sanskrit, just the translation. In the age of Kali, I shall come. Oh, I just read that one. In the Markandeya Purana, in the Kali Yuga, I will leave Gokula, meaning the spiritual, and to save the people of the world, I will become the handsome and playful Lord Gauranga. Vraha Purana. I shall come as the best of Brahmanas. I will exhibit many pastimes. In the form of a devotee, I shall deliver the people of the world. In the Vamana Purana, in the Vayu Purana, and on and on. And I shall advent in the month of Falgun, when the star Falguni is conjoined with the full moon. I shall incarnate in a golden complexion in the womb of Sachi and Purandar Mishra. I will be born in the city of Navadvip. I mean, how more accurate and precise can that be? On the Ganges shore, in a Brahmana's family, I shall take to the renounced order of life and show kindness to the people in general and engage them in bhakti. I will be known as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. All of you should follow my order and deliver the people of all the world. On and on and on and on. So, yeah, there's many quotes, and more become available. Anybody would like to look at this, please, I'll just leave it here. You can come and have a look at it.
Sure.
Please leave it, because it's the only copy I have at the moment. And I may need it for anyone who challenges me. One last point about, you know, the doubts. Krishna says, destroy these doubts with the weapon of knowledge. And I know when I was newer devotee and I have all these doubts. Doubts and being inquisitive is actually a sign of intelligence. We don't want to just blindly follow. You know, I mean, an intelligent person wants to really ask questions. That's a symptom of intelligence. But there's at some point that, you know, all your doubts, they get alleviated with the weapon of knowledge. And then at some point, you just accept. And when you get to that point, and you open up the Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you're reading it, you're just accepting it. And then you get to a whole other platform of relishment, of taste, of enjoying. Rather than when you read something, how can that be? No, that doesn't make sense. Because after a while, the doubts are removed and it does make sense. And then, you know, then you just, isn't it like that? Anybody else have that experience? A lot of doubts, and then it's all of a sudden it just opens up. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.